So you may have noticed in the previous demos that the tests we created actually recorded UI events for the web application. It recognized what I clicked on and the values that I entered. This is the bread and butter of HP functional testing. The ability to automate tests that can recreate high-level user actions, such as navigating to a website, clicking on certain links, entering certain data into text fields, etc. Now, of course, this alone wouldn't be very useful if you couldn't also automate the task of making assertions on UI elements that get manipulated by the UI interaction. Fear not, though, HP functional testing provides extensive support for this sort of task. So let's go through an example of how you can do this in HP functional testing. We'll go back to our Quick Test Professional. What we can do is we will start with a new test to start from scratch. We'll begin the recording process. And just like we did previously, go ahead and add an item to the cart. Then we'll put in a invalid account information. So let's make a test that checks to make sure that this message is displayed for an invalid account. So what we do at this point, we go back to our Quick Test Professional window and we insert a text checkpoint. And then we can click on the text. You can see it reads the value that's there and assumes that the test we want to create is to make sure that this text is displayed between these other two text elements. So we'll go ahead and click on OK. And then we can stop recording. You can see that our text checkpoint was added in. And if we run it, we can see that it loads up, and in our results window we can see that the test passed. Now, just to show you that I have no tricks up my sleeve, we go into the expert mode. We will modify this checkpoint properties. Let's put in something that we know it's not going to be there. Click OK. Then we will run it again. Alright, so let's take a look at our test results. You can see, it failed. That's okay, because that's what we expected. Now we can drill down into the test summary. We can see that the test failed somewhere in the checkpoint logon. We go into that. We can see the expected value and the actual value. And that's how HP functional testing allows you to test UI elements. And you can get a lot fancier than that, testing various HTML attributes of websites, DOM. So we'll have more examples of that probably further on in this tutorial series. Now, so far I've shown you how you can automate static UI events and save and rerun them as part of a test. Things don't end there, though. We can also leverage HP functional testing's data-driven aspect to automate dynamic tests. For instance, in the previous examples, we automated the process of logging in as a specific user. However, let's say you wanted to test an entire range of username and password combinations. With our previous example, we would have to create a new test for each username and password. Let's see how we can use HP functional testing's data driver to automate such a task. So we'll go right back into the test we were using. What we want to do is bring up the data table. So we'll do a fairly easy one here. We'll put several different values in here to test. And then we will use the keyword view to modify how we log in. Change this username. What we'll do is in the username, we'll change it to use our data table. And we entered all those values in column A. So we'll grab column A. So now what we expect it to do is iterate through every value in column A here and run the test for each of those. Okay, let's move this down so you can see it. We'll run. And it's going pretty fast, but you can see that it's iterating through the entire test. And it's going to do that for each of those values that we had. So you can see that there's 4 iterations, which makes sense. We had 4 values in column A, and the last one, for instance, was D, so let's take a look at that one. You can see under the username that it used the value that was in that column. And if we go to a different iteration, so that's just a very simple, rather esoteric example of how to use the data-driven aspect of HP functional testing. And now I'd like to give you a brief history of the HP functional testing software. In 2001, Mercury Interactive Corporation, a company founded by Amnon Landon and Ari Fingold, released version 5.5 of a software package they titled Quick Test Professional. Despite the version name, this was the first release of the software. Over the next 4 years, Mercury Interactive continued development on Quick Test Professional to meet a growing demand. In 2006, Mercury Interactive was a booming company, having bought up several tech companies. During that year, however, they would eventually find themselves on the other end of that equation, as the company was purchased by Hewlett-Packard, who went on to rename the product HP Functional Testing. HP continued development on the project, eventually leading up to the current release, version 11 in 2010.